Welcome to another episode of the Filipino Genealogy channel. Today we're going to discuss the Catalogo Alfabetico de Apellidos. But before anything else, please don't forget to click on the subscribed button below and the bell beside it so that you will always be kept up to date whenever I post something new. Now, as you probably know, the Catalogo Alfabetico de Apellidos was literally a list of last names and ordinary words that were collected from the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, and the mineral kingdom, and mandated by Governor General Narciso Claveria. Ennobled as the Conde de Manila, Claveria was an able administrator who realized that one of the reasons for the low collection of taxes and the low output from the Polo y Servicios was the lack of formal names among the native inhabitants of the Philippine colony. Many people had the same first and quote last unquote names, thereby confusing the authorities when collections were made. Thus, to alleviate this issue, on November 21, 1849, Governor General Claveria decreed that those without proper last names must adopt a name from the list and pass it on to their descendants. This means many Filipinos today actually carry surnames that were really just plucked out of this list of family names. So let's get to know more about this catalog of family names. Number one, the Catalogo has 141 pages in all. Now, this count of pages is quite interesting because when we look at the records all over the Philippines today, look at the list of names of the inhabitants in each country, in each town, or in each province, we can actually see how the governors at that time in 1849 uh, decided how to distribute these family names. Now, there were very diligent and very able governors who reprinted the entire list of 141 pages and distributed each list to the complete list to each town under their jurisdiction. That means that in every town there was a lot of options for the people to choose from. So there was definitely no limited surnames to choose from. But unfortunately, there are places in the Philippines, such as the entire Bicol region, where the governor just decided to distribute the entire list piece by piece, or probably 1 to 5 pages going to this town, another 5 pages going to another town, thereby limiting the choices and the options for the inhabitants of those particular towns. Now, studies have been made, and it has been shown that in some areas in Bicol, there are places that if you take a look at the last names of the inhabitants, you will notice an an anomaly. Most people probably have surnames that start with the same letter, perhaps the letter A or the letter V, depending on which page of the list they got. But this phenomenon is actually true in some places in the Philippines. Number two, there is a total of 60,288 surnames in the Catalogo. So this is an approximation, but based on the manual counting that we did with the Catalogo, there appears to be right about 60,288 to 300 last names that can be found in the Catalogo. We cannot give a specific exact count because there are pages that the last names have been erased or are not clear, or in some cases where the pages have been uh, perhaps ravaged by time and the wear and tear of those who handle these pages over the years, we can no longer see which surnames are there and how many surnames were probably erased. So, but on a safe note, we can conclude that it's right about that number, 60,288. Number three, Each page of the Catalogo is divided into 6 columns. Now, all throughout the Catalogo, there really is a uh, uniform division of each page of 6 columns. And number 4, we can also see that each column contained 72 surnames, which means that in a full, perfect page, because not all pages had a full listing of names, especially when we transitioned from one letter to another. So, but in a full, perfect page, wherein all 6 columns were filled with 72 surnames each, you had 432 last names listed on one particular page. Number 5, there are only 23 letters represented in the Catalogo. There is no letter I, there is no letter K, there's no letter W or letter X. However, there is an extra entry for the letter L or A, which is the 14th letter in the Spanish alphabet. Number 6, the most numerous surnames begin with the letters C and B. C has 5,560 surnames, while B has 5,362 surnames. So between the two of them, we have almost 11,000 surnames from the 60,000 something surnames of the entire Catalogo. So this also would indicate that if we take a look at the list of surnames today in the Philippines, there is a high probability of people carrying letters C and B, or there are more C and B surnames in the Philippines if we take a look at the list of, let's say, a phone book or a list of voters. Number 7, the letter with the least surnames are the letters Z and Elye or Eye. Eye has only 114 names, while Z has 213. Number 8, in order, these are the number of surnames for each letter. So as you can see on the screen, letter A up to letter Z, we have not listed them according to the count, but it's alphabetical. So as you can see, the least numbers are the letters A and Z with just 114 and 213, while all the rest, except for letter U, which also has 697, but all the rest have at least 1,000 or more last names in them. Oh, also letter Q only has 864. Number 9, the first surname in the entire Catalogo is Aakain, while the last surname in the list is Zurar. That's just a trivia if you want to know something interesting. Aakain is the first name that you can find in the list, and Zurar is the last. And finally, number 10, this is a list of all the first and the last names that are listed per letter. So for letter A, the first is Aakain, the last is Azuzada. For letter B, we have Baak, the last name is Buidrun. Letter C, you have Kaadyaog, and the last is Koitib. Letter D is Da, and the last is Duigulani. Letter E is E, and the last is Ezkerralga. Letter F is Fa, and the last is Fuyaranin. Letter G, the first is Ga, and the last is Guzuz. Letter H, the first is Habana, the last is Huzdiriz. Letter J, Habalde, last Huvez. Letter L, the first is Laak, the last is Luzuriaga. Letter Elye or Eye is Yaban, and the last is Yusala. Letter M, the first is Maala, the last is Muzuil. Letter N, the first is Naag, the last is Nuzman. Letter O, it's Oa, the last is Ozorman. Letter P, the first is Pa, the last is Puzon. Letter Q, the first is Kuaba, and the last is Quijada. Letter R, the first is Raagas, the last is Ruzafa. Letter S, the first is Sa, and the last is Suzada. Letter T, the first is Ta, and the last is Tuyud. Letter U, the first is Uwakal, and the last is Uztare. Letter V, the first is Va, and the last is Vulzug. Letter Y, the first is Yab, the last is Iztueta. And the last, letter Z, the first name that can be found is Zabala, and the last is Zurar. And so those are the first and last names listed per letter. And that's our short discussion, the 10 things that are interesting to know about the Catalogo Alfabetico de Apellidos. We will discuss more about this, and definitely we will discuss more about Governor General Narciso Claveria in our future posts. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.